Ever since Game Informer revealed the release date for Spider-Man on the PS4 from Insomniac Games and Sony, I have seen some crazy stuff float across my timeline here on Twitter, being posted on forums. The questions that Insomniac are getting are depressing and downright sad, but the damage control is even worse. What is going on, guys? Randall Thor 19, the man with the million, back again with another video. Sorry for not making any videos this past weekend. I was binging PUBG. I know. I'm an addict. What can I say? But that's behind me now. I think I'll be done with PUBG for a little bit. We got Hellblade to play again on the Xbox One X. We got God of War next week. I'm going to play some Doom, some Uncharted Legacy. So we don't need PUBG for a while. But man, while I was browsing Twitter, as I normally do, seeing what people are talking about, I came across a lot of upset people about Spider-Man for the PlayStation 4. Now, I've said it from the get-go, Spider-Man is my number one most anticipated game of the year. It looks really good. Insomniac is a great developer in my opinion. I really enjoyed the Batman Arkham games, and it looks like it has combat very similar to that. And I've always really enjoyed the Spider-Man games. Of course, not the bad ones, but there have been some pretty good ones from last gen. And watching the videos that Game Informer has put out, the game looks like it's gonna be a blast. But of course, instead of gamers just saying, I can't wait to play this on September 7th, I'm going to fire up my PlayStation 4, whether it's your primary console like it is for a lot of people, or a secondary console like it is for myself. You know, it is a console where I strictly play the PlayStation exclusives. You have people asking and demeaning Insomniac Games about whether or not this Spider-Man game is coming to their platform of choice, and most notably, the platform they're talking about is Xbox. So once it was revealed that it was exclusively coming to PlayStation 4 on September 7th, people took to Twitter and was like really hammering home the idea like, hey, Insomniac, when is this game coming to Xbox? Why isn't this game coming to Xbox? What are you doing? I would really like to play Spider-Man on the Xbox. And if you follow the games industry like I do, and I'm sure a whole bunch of other people out there watching this video do, you've known for a long time that this is a Sony-published game. They funded it. Insomniac is an independent developer, and this game was always going to be exclusive to the PlayStation. Now, granted, there are some people out there who probably didn't know that, who don't follow the gaming industry as closely as someone like I do, and they were legit asking a question, is this game coming to Xbox? With no meaningful ill intent, just wanting to know, because not everybody's in touch, not everybody on Twitter knows everything that's going on. Just just a question to ask, like, hey, is it coming to Xbox? Oh, it's not, thanks, and move on. But there are some people that I did see asking that question who I know that they know that Spider-Man's not coming to PlayStation. And the people just happen to be like losing their minds over the situation. And this isn't the first time, at least since I've been on YouTube, where I've seen people lose their minds over a really good-looking quality exclusive for Sony. The first one was when the reviews hit for Horizon Zero Dawn. In fact, I made a video about that. It has like an 89 on Metacritic. People praise Horizon Zero Dawn is this great new IP with a stunning, beautiful open world and things like that. But back then, last year, people were like damage controlling the review scores that we're getting, and I just couldn't fathom why. Maybe it's because I don't really delve deep into the console war type stuff. If a game's good, the game's good. If I can play it on my Xbox, great. If I have to play it on a PlayStation, whatever. But just because the game's great on a competing platform, or at least not my preferred one, it's never bothered me at all, right? But for some reason, it bothers a lot of people who don't own a PlayStation that these games on over there are not only really good, but are also critically very good. Not to mention, eventually, when they become commercially very good, like when Horizon Zero Dawn sold like 8 million consoles, and then you have people coming out, well, that's okay, but it only sold to 10% of the user base. People always finding ways to downplay the success of a PlayStation game, and then always trying to find ways to upsell the success of an Xbox game. It's kind of a weird phenomena that I see constantly going on. But in relation to Spider-Man, it's people that I know, and they're like, why isn't it coming? And Insomniac get these terrible messages. But then you find out that, you know what, guys? You had the chance to support Insomniac back in 2014 with the release of Sunset Overdrive, which came out exclusively for Xbox. And not a lot of people decided to support that game. Maybe it sold 1 million, maybe it didn't. Who knows what the official numbers are? But it didn't sell well enough to get a sequel. And here you are, pretty much begging Insomniac to bring the game to Xbox, when just like Sunset Overdrive, Microsoft paid for that game to be exclusive, and Sony basically is paying, well, they own the rights to it, or whatever the complicated dealing is. Sony made that game for a couple purposes. To keep its fan base happy by providing solid single-player experiences, and also to try to bring in more people into the PlayStation ecosystem. That's why these companies do exclusives like they do. It's to get people to check out what you have, and then they maybe sell you subscriptions and services and other games. That's what Sony's trying to sell Spider-Man on. Like, they built it for that specific purpose of bringing in fans of Spider-Man to the console, and they hired a great developer to do it. But you didn't support Sunset Overdrive, Xbox fans. Not saying all of you didn't, but we as a community, and I'm not saying here on the Twitter community or the YouTube community, but Xbox gamers in general didn't buy Sunset Overdrive enough, or enough quantities and units to make a Sunset Overdrive 2. And if you had supported Sunset Overdrive in a way that looks like Spider-Man will be supported by PlayStation fans, then there would have been a Sunset Overdrive 2, and there never would have been a Spider-Man. That's right. Most of the people working on the new Spider-Man was the Sunset Overdrive team. So when you factor that in, it's like, well, Sony guys got a game to basically thank for Xbox fans. Xbox fans didn't support Sunset Overdrive, and because of it, they were kind of looking for work to do, and here's Spider-Man falling in their lap. But if you had supported the game, this wouldn't have happened. But, maybe people losing their minds over whether the game's coming to Xbox or not isn't the worst aspect of it, even though some of the hate that Insomniac has been getting lately is absurd, and it always makes me facepalm when I see that sort of stuff going on. But the damage control surrounding this new Spider-Man game is just getting utterly ridiculous. And what I mean by that is this notion that there has never been a good Spider-Man game, so that means there never will be a good Spider-Man game. Which they're trying to imply, of course, that you shouldn't be excited for Insomniac Spider-Man because all the previous Spider-Man games weren't very good, which means this Spider-Man game won't be very good. And to that I say, bullshit. That is the worst form of damage control I have ever heard. And it comes from people who probably haven't played very many Spider-Man games, because there were a ton last gen. And while some of them were absolutely terrible, there was actually a few of them that were actually really, really well done, like Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, a game that was basically patented off of the Batman Arkham trilogy, or the Arkham games, and that game was actually quite enjoyable. Now, granted, there were bad ones, but this idea that has been floating around that there can't be a good Spider-Man game because there never has been, or maybe I flipped that around, that this Spider-Man game will be bad because the previous ones were bad, is ludicrous. Look, you can say all you want that you're not interested in the Spider-Man game. You could say, you know what, I've never liked a Spider-Man game before, I'm not a fan of the character, the gameplay doesn't look interesting to me, I'm just not going to play it. And you know what? that is your prerogative. If the game doesn't appeal to you, it doesn't appeal to you, so don't play it. But when you start making excuses, like, it's not going to be good because the other ones weren't good, and is really Insomniac a top-tier developer? When you start saying things like that, then I know you have some sort of ulterior motive, and you're trying to downplay the game's success. And look, you can just say it like it is. You want this game to come to Xbox, and because it's not coming to Xbox, you have to downplay how good the game is, or how important it is, or whatever. For me, I look at it like this. I look at all the games equally on all the platforms. I judge them equally and without any, preconceived notions. I judge Sea of Thieves on, how good the game was, not whether it was an Xbox exclusive. The same way I'll judge God of War, the same way I judge Far Cry 5 and all the games I play. It doesn't matter to me that one is exclusive to the other. I just want to play great games. But some people out there, if it's Xbox exclusive, then it's amazing, and they'll upplay all these small features that maybe they shouldn't. But if it's a PlayStation exclusive, then they gotta downplay it in some form or fashion. Instead of just looking at it and be like, hey, that's a game that I want to play. That's a game that looks good, that has some really interesting mechanics in it. The web swinging through the city looks fun, fast, right? The combat looks like a nice take on the Arkham with like super fluidity like Spider-Man would have. That's a game that looks like it's going to be a blast to play in September. I'm going to get it. Instead, you have people being like, game looks like dog poo. There was never a good Spider-Man game anyways. This one won't be any good. I'm going to pass. And you can tell they're not really being truthful with themselves. If this game was flip-flopped, if this game was on Xbox, it'd be heralded as the second coming. People would be like, oh my god, doesn't this game look great? But that is the console war stuff, and which is why I hate it. It kind of ruins the industry. And I'm sure some of it has to do with PlayStation fans kind of poking fun at Xbox fans. Like, this is our exclusive game and not yours. So there's kind of that going on as well. But I always tune that stuff out. There are plenty of trolls on Twitter and everywhere else that you kind of just have to mute, right? That's like, look at this game I have, but you can't. So it's like you downplay the game because it's not in your system, and then people, make fun that you don't have their game. It's this whole kind of quandary that goes on that people deal with, and it's honestly childish to a certain degree. I don't know, like, man, I look at the game and it looks like it's going to be a ton of fun. And I don't care if it was a PlayStation exclusive, a multiplat, or a game that was exclusive to Xbox. I'll judge it on the same merit as I do all the other ones. But for some people out there, they just lose their mind when it comes to PlayStation exclusives. They have to damage control it to make it seem not as good. They want it for Xbox, but then don't support Xbox games when they do release, right? And if you want to see some more meltdowns, just wait until the 12th, when God of War and the reviews are released. Because if you want to see people flip out, you're going to see it once again. People flipped out over Horizon Zero Dawn last year when the reviews came out. And from what I'm hearing about this God of War game and the reviews it's going to get, now I predicted a 92 on Metacritic for God of War, and it seems like possibly I could be low. It could even be a 95. And if that's the case, if that's truly the case, if this game is going to get over a 90 and the 92s to 95 range, you're going to see tons of people lose their minds once again. But I'm not, because I'm going to play the game like I always do on whatever system it's available for. I'm going to enjoy God of War on the PlayStation and Detroit Become Human on the PlayStation just as much as I'll enjoy State of Decay 2 and on the Xbox and Mario on the Switch. It's a great life to lead, and I wish more people went down that path. But unfortunately, I feel like this is just going to continue on the way it is. But mark my words, the 12th, you're going to see people lose their minds again. Anyways, guys, that's the video for right now. If you enjoyed it, make sure you hit that like button. Consider subscribing for more content. Share this out on social media. Hit the notification bell if you always want to be notified. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see everybody in the next video.